tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
All right, welcome to Tinfoil Hat, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios adjacent. That's right, go to samtripley.gold, use the promo code TINFOIL, and you too can get in the precious metal game for as little as $50 a month. Very excited about today's topic. We're going to be getting into the little season. When Eddie Bravo and I go on the road all the time, we're constantly talking about, is it the little season? A lot of things line up, and we couldn't have a better guest on to talk about. He was on before one of, this will be the 878th episode, and I could say that his last appearance was one of the best ones we've ever done. He has a book called The Nephilims Look Like Clowns. Please welcome back to the show, Paul Stobbs. How are you, brother?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for that glowing review there. That was a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
No, dude, I love that episode. It's so on point, and I always think about, I know it sounds weird, but I'm always thinking about Nephilims and the clowns. And when I see you pop on other people's shows, I'm super happy for you because you're a great researcher, and you tackle some amazing topics. So thank you. For those who may not remember your last appearance, and if you're new to the show and you haven't watched or listened to Paul's episode, go back, put it in, Tinfoil Hat, Paul Stobbs, and Nephilims are clowns. It was a great episode. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, so I'm primarily just a YouTuber. You can find me on YouTube at Understanding Conspiracy. And yeah, I'm primarily the guy who's known for talking about the Nephilim and the way they looked, which is just like clowns. And like I said, we did our podcast about a year ago, something like that. I think 100 episodes ago, we'll put it down as. And I basically wrote a book after 8 years worth of research, which I've been doing the podcast circuit on. And that's just a wild ride, which, again, we're not going to talk about today. But if you want to know anything about that, it's all there on my channel. Go and check it out. That's been going on for years. But I kind of fell into recently a different topic, which has been growing rapidly online, let's say. Coming off the back of the Tartarian researchers from the 2018 period, there was this parallel theory going along from the Christian perspective that what we call Tartaria might actually have been something akin to the millennial kingdom of Christ, which has been talked about in the book of Revelation. And that blew my mind when I first heard it. I had to sit on that for like 3 years before I even opened my mouth to talk about it on my channel, because like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Who's gonna want to hear that? That's like the worst possible news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I don't know if it's the worst possible news. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. So much of how I do this is really, I just go with my gut feeling.
Yeah.
And there's just so much that just somewhat lines up with this. And we have a guest coming on in a couple episodes out. He's going to tell us why he doesn't think it is, which I'm totally down with. But my gut says there's something to this. There's something that because it's just like it lines up with a couple things. One, the Kali Yuga coming to an end, right? Like I know that's Hinduism, but Christianity, all the Abrahamics are a kind of extension of Hinduism. It kind of lines up with that. And it kind of lines up with like, hey, dude, how could it get any darker than it is right now?
Like if Satan was ruling for a short season, it certainly feels like it'd be this one right now.
100%. Like all these pedophile stuff coming out, no one's getting arrested except for low levels. So they they arrest the low level ones so that we think they're doing something. Why the elites, who are these apex predators, never get touched ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like he is running the show. When I say no, the worst possible news, I don't believe it is. I hook, line, and sinker. I believe it. I think we're in the little season, and I think it actually gives us more faith and less faith as Christians when you actually get to grips with what this really means. But for a lot of Christians, they're not waiting for the little season. They think that's something that's going to happen 1,000 years from now, after the 1,000-year reign of Christ, that they get to be a part of. So a lot of people feel like I'm stealing their blessed hope that they get to be kings and priests over the rest of humanity with Christ himself on earth or something. And what I'm saying is, look, the worst has already passed. Tribulation has already happened, which is the worst time in human history. You do not want to be around for that. No one wants to be around for that. What we're saying is it happened at some time in the past. And we're now in this odd little time at the end of it, which is described in Revelation 20, where it quite literally says, once the 1,000 years has ended, so it ends, there's a short season where the devil's let loose to deceive all the nations and gather an army, and then to go and make war with something called the Camp of Saints. And whatever that is still up for speculation. We can speculate wildly today, but it feels like we're living more in that time, to be honest. And there's plenty of corroborating evidence which just keeps piling up now. And it's getting out of hand how much evidence is piling up that our historical record is a complete fabrication. The only reason we have a conspiracy is because this did happen and they're covering it up, basically. Everything is just designed to distract us from just looking around at our own cities around us and seeing that there was an advanced civilization here not that long ago.
I couldn't agree more, man. I was just in Louisville, dude. And, they put me and Eddie in this gorgeous hotel. It was gorgeous. And, we walk in, I instantly become my father. I'm instantly like, because there's nobody in the lobby. I'm like, how are they paying for the electricity here? There's nobody here. How are they keeping the lights on? How are you keeping the lights on? But the reason I bring it up is because downtown Louisville, in my opinion, looks like Manhattan. Obviously, it's a smaller version, but it looks like Manhattan. Like there's giant skyscrapers everywhere. And it's during the day, it is empty. And you go, what, where, how, what happened with this? And then, because, I just saw Theo Vaughn was talking about how, he's pro-tariff, and I'm with him on why he feels it, because, they want to bring back manufacturing, and so he goes, dude, we're doing this tour. We're going to these cities and these downtowns are all boarded up. They're just all boarded up. There's nothing going on downtown. It's like this flight thing from like the big cities. It's either people did one or two things. Or three things. They either moved from the big city out to the suburbs. They moved to the south or the west with the warm weather, or they moved to LA, New York, Chicago, to the big cities where the, people just abandon these like Midwest, like mid-sized city, like Louisville and where were we just? It was
Tacoma.
Just like,
remember Tacoma? The subway was closed midday.
Yeah. But then I finally got out of Tacoma. I just did Tacoma once again. Thank you guys for a great weekend. I go, you go out to suburbs. It's a great city. Downtown is dead. But it's like these giant buildings that you think at one point were completely and utterly full. So where did they come from? Where did the architecture come from? How did they do that? Yeah, I mean, like that's why it clicks with me.
Well, supposedly America's a weird one for architecture because you guys have like Greco-Roman amphitheaters just scattered all over the place, and they call them government buildings, and they were all supposedly built during a time where they were having a revolution to kick big government out of the country. But while we're at it, let's build castles to live in while we're at it, And they were saying, while people are dying of dysentery, moving out west, barely surviving, eating each other, they were supposedly also starting these cities that had these massive cathedrals within them. And it's kind of, where did you get the population to build these from? Why would you go to such effort to do such things? None of it makes any sense. And the whole spaghetti Western image you have of old time America doesn't line up with the architecture that's actually around at all. Like, so someone's lied somewhere is what we're basically discovering here. Like something's been covered up somewhere along the way. And what we're saying is the reason the architecture is pretty much the same across every continent. And we're talking like even in Honduras, you have the exact same Greco-Roman style architecture with these big Corinthian pillars, and it's kind of, what the hell is this most impoverished place on earth building these things? How did that get there? And why is it identical to the things you find in Rome or in the center of Europe or Germany or something? It's because there was a worldwide civilization of some kind that shared the same information, the same style. Something happened. and a lot of it's buried. We're constantly digging up Roman architecture. It's all underground. No one ever really questioned this? Why is everything underground? Why is everything just constantly being unearthed every single day? Like, there's like, I don't know, something stupid like 38,000 dig sites in Europe alone where they've discovered like Roman ruins and architecture under the ground. Not one of them has anything underneath it. It's just Rome, and that's it, nothing below. No other civilization. So that blows out the water the mainstream understanding that, oh, well, you know, things just get buried over time and civilizations go on top of other civilizations. It's like, well, that's not what we find, actually. We find evidence that, yes, things have been buried, and it's just that one architecture style. Just that one civilization got buried. So what buried it all, and what we've discovered is there's actually a time in history in 536 AD. It's known as the worst year on record.
What?
It's been documented. It's very well understood what happened during this time.
536?
Yeah, and basically it seems like every single volcano on the earth went out. That's what it sounds like happened. And the sun went dark for 18 months. The whole sky blacked out. So something happened. Something covered up the entire sky.
What?
And then there was a mini ice age that followed. Poverty, famine, all the crops died. People eating each other, killing each other, dying of pox, all sorts of things. Everything just came straight after that. About 95% of the population was wiped out, is what we're thinking here. And it affected every corner of the earth. And this has been pinpointed to this time. They're called 536 AD. But what we've discovered, and I'm quite a conspiratorial guy, as you know, we've discovered the work of an old German researcher who sadly passed away. He's a chronologist. He kind of has alternative history views. And he did the math and the science, and he worked out through the stratigraphy, like I was telling you earlier about these layers, going to these dig sites himself and kind of finding out what can be found out. And he's basically figured out 700 years from the first 1,000 years doesn't exist. It's just been added into history. It's not actually there at all.
What?
All we have is about 300 years worth of history from the first millennium. So let's just take 700 years off our timeline completely. Doesn't exist. It's not actually, it's been put there as like phantom time.
We're in the 1300s.
Well, no. So let's say, for example, let's go off the timeline from Christ. Okay, so we have Jesus born, 33 years later crucified, resurrected, and then ascends to heaven after 40 days of Pentecost. And then about 40 years later in 70 AD, the temple is destroyed, which he prophesied would happen in his time. Okay, Roman-Jewish war kicks off in 66 AD. Rome just surrounds Jerusalem, burns the thing to the ground, decimates everything, destroys everything. Chariots of fire are seen and armies are seen in the sky, as documented by Josephus, a first century Jewish historian. Something biblical happened in that time. And then we're told it's been like, Byzantine Empire comes, Roman Catholicism kind of rises, the early church fathers start doing their writings. Then by 536, we're told massive disaster. Like I said, this thing I just described to you. And then we're told there was a time of recovery, and then another disaster kind of kicked off again in about the 8th century, around that time, 9th century, give or take. And then history going on today through the medieval period to today. However, those three events, the collapse of Rome and Judaism, the big events I mentioned, and then this third one that came at the end of the millennium, they're all one event, is what this research has basically discovered. There's no time separating them. They're all describing the exact same events happening at the same time, immediately after the destruction of the temple in around about 77 AD, something like that. But we're told...
Oh, 77, Johnny.
Something like that. Now, if that's when the millennial kingdom was established and Christ came back at that time, like he promised he would.
So the notion may be he came back around 77?
Something like that. And then something like that. We know the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, so let's give a 7-year tribulation from there, shall we? Just that's what the popular belief is. 3.5 years. And then add 1,000 years on. That brings us to 1077 or 1066, if you want to go off the 66 AD being when the Roman-Jewish war began, if that's when the 1,000 years began. But then if you add 700 years onto that, which doesn't exist, which is added to our timeline, that's 1776, when America found its independence, But let's take 700 years away from that. Doesn't really exist. That means we're actually technically living in the year 1326 or something like that. Let's just take 700 years of our current timeline. So really, we're living in the year 1326, 1325, something like that. We're about 249 years since the end of the reign, and we're in the little season now, basically. something like that.
Hold on. So you think we're entering the little season or
No.
ending the little?
We're at the end of it. We're 249 years into it. People seem to think 1776, symbolically, Independence Day, was the release of Satan from the pit. It was his independence. That's what people... And America was reestablished as like the new Babylon revival. Rome revived because Rome was destroyed. The millennial kingdom was established. And then they receded. The devil's released and he resurrects Rome, the Roman Empire. And that's kind of what we're living in today, like a new version of like a new Rome, you know, in some respects. Babylon revived. And so that's the working timeline theory that we're in. And yeah, we're about 250 years into this now. And with the release of Satan, it seems like he basically locked away everybody in insane asylums in the early days who still remembered the reign of Christ and wouldn't shut up about it. Stole all the children, put them in orphanages and traveled them in orphan trains all over the place just to confuse their own history and rename them and raise them in a new order. The Freemasons were all established around the same time. The Bavarian Illuminati was established in 1776 as well. It all seems lining up that Satan's minions, who were just waiting for him to be released from the pit, just were there waiting for him, said, let us do your bidding, and secret societies were made, and their job has been to cover up history, rewrite all of history, claim ownership of all these buildings, because it's just Freemasonry, it's just laying around, just take it, you know, and that's where they get their namesake from. And the whole conspiracy to this date has literally been to make sure we don't realize that this is the case. And that's
okay.
That's it.
So let's just pause for a second and digest some of the stuff that was said. Yeah. So are you saying that the reason you're adding 700 years is because there's no actual like sign of evidence that anything happened during this period? That there's, because I saw somebody say that like we just showed it on doom scrolling yesterday, where it's like the architecture of one time looks exactly like the architecture of another time, and what history sign tell you is that there was no advancements in architecture. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so this is what they're saying. Given the man I told you about, Gunnar Heinze, this German researcher, he said the same thing. He says, "Look, for
does he have a book or anything that you read? Like, what? How did
he has a lot of books, but he did a presentation in Toronto in 2016, which you can find online, where he just lays it all out with images and everything. So as far as I'm concerned, this guy brought serious receipts, undeniable facts. And he's basically saying, yeah, something similar. Many examples. He throws like hundreds of examples, though. It says, look, we have this architectural style, this Byzantine style in like the 1st century, the early antiquity, we call it. Then for some reason in the 9th century, we have the exact same style being created everywhere. And he's saying they're even using the exact same roof tiles, the same architectural like blueprints. There's been zero advancement in 800 years, is what he's saying. 700 years, no advancement whatsoever. He says it's impossible. It's because there's no difference between those times. They are the same time period. It's been added. Someone's been corrupting the timeline, basically. And if you look into it, you find out in the 1600s, Jesuits were involved, funnily enough. And the Scaliger was the guy who basically wrote our modern timeline as we know it. He invented chronology today that we live by, and we have been living by it since for 400 years. And there's another researcher, a Russian one called Anatoly Fomenko, and he wrote a book called The New Chronology. He's a Russian mathematician, and he just does statistics. And he basically mapped out the statistics and realized our population's too small. If we've had, based on the amount of time we have had going off all the major events throughout history, accounting for wars and everything in between and famines and all the rest of it, and then the birth rates and obviously aging and all that, he's done the math and he says we're missing billions of people. Like, we are not big enough for the time we've been around. This doesn't make any sense. So he's theorized 1,000 years was added. Gunnar Heinze thinks 700 years was added. But somewhere along the line, time was added to our history that doesn't exist to make us believe we are 2,000 years after Christ. And where is he? He's still not here, you know?
Hey, guys, it's a crazy time to be investing, wondering about your financial future. You know, stocks goes up, stocks go down. Crypto goes up, crypto goes down, but you know, it remains steady and the same. Gold and silver, precious metals, and that's why I want to tell you about our friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Let me tell you about Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, everybody. If you're paying attention, you know the de-dollarization is real. Fiat is fake, and you don't want to be left holding the bag when the dollar collapses. Gold and silver have been money through all of recorded history and are an excellent way to protect yourself from inflation and geopolitical turmoil. That's why I trust my friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for all precious metals, all things precious metals. I love it. I am part of the Wolf Pack. Every month I have precious metals sent right to my house, and I love it. See, Wise Wolf Gold and Silver is veteran owned and A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. No transaction is too big or too small. You can even roll over your 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver. And if you think you can't afford precious metals, think again. With the Wolfpack monthly membership program, you can get gold and silver delivered directly to your door for as little as $50 a month. As little as $50 a month. You can have precious metals. You start loading it up, man. By the end of the year, you'll have a good chunk of precious metals. Dude, it's crazy. Just go to samtripoli.gold. You can see all the different plans they have. Man, it's like $50. Lone Wolf, Warrior Wolf, $125. Alpha Wolf is $250. And it just keeps going up. Sent to your house. Right there. It's that simple. It's that simple. Easy peasy. Get in, get out, get your gold, get your silver. I love it. I'm doing it. Dude, I'm telling you, all of these affiliates I use, and I use Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. I use it all the time. It's real simple. So if you want to get in, this is how you do it. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver also deals in and accepts Bitcoin. So here's what I need you to do, okay? Go to samtripoli.gold, promo code tinfoil at checkout to receive free constitutional silver. That's right. And remember, in a world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about one of our favorite sponsors of all time. That's right, Blue Chew. Listen, guys, you can have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong it will knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off. That's a lot of socks, okay? You'll have to move to another town with all the amount of noise you'll be making. Blue Chew Max has arrived, and it combines active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. That combo acts fast and lasts, okay? Get in it to win it, guys. It's really that simple. If you want rock hard boners that just keep the streets safe in the neighborhood, okay? Nobody's committing crimes if we're all getting mega dick downs, okay? Mega dick downs, less crime. That's what I've learned, okay? It's really that simple. If you want great sex, it's just a click away. Sign up, BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared, shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy, okay? So here's what we need you to do. Make life easier by getting a rock hard and discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special offer, a special deal for our tinfoil hat boners, okay? You want a rock hard boner, or you like to see a rock hard boner, okay? Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the promo code tinfoil. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code tinfoil. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. And real quick, guys, if you want to see me live, go to samtripoli.com. You hit the events. I got a huge show coming up this Saturday. I am with Gavin McGinnis and Josh Denny. Secret location. I can't tell you where it is. Just go to samtripoli.com. Grab the dates. That's samtripoli.com. Thank you, Xavier Guerrero, for grabbing that. Just go to samtripoli.com. Here are the dates. I'm in Los Angeles this Saturday. I'm doing my revival show on the 1st. That's a big show where it's comedy, it's conspiracy, it's shit talking, 1 hour superpower. Going to be live, going to film it and put it out. Bellflower, California. And then we got a bunch of dates coming. We got Cleveland, San Diego, more dates to come. And yeah, let's get back to the show, everybody. Get back to the show.
So you 100% think it was on purpose? That you don't think they somehow lost or added some numbers on accident or some, I don't know, a mistake? What's the logic of adding years to
hide where we are in the biblical timeline? It's a conspiracy, basically, because if you're Lucifer or Satan, you've been released from the pit, you would want to cover up the fact that Christ was already there. You can't really hide his existence because he built a kingdom. He built cathedrals everywhere. There's a whole religion dedicated to the guy everywhere. But what you can do is confuse everybody where they are on the biblical timeline. So you can explain away why we have so much Christianity everywhere. But if you make them believe we're still waiting for Christ to return, then you've just shifted the perspective completely, and that's enough to get away with it. There was no way he could erase the evidence that Christ was here, but he can at least manipulate what we perceive the evidence to mean. And a lot of people today are living by futurist dispensationalism, which is the idea that tribulation is still yet to come. We're living in these 2,000-year ages of dispensations, and we're going into the final one now, which will bring tribulation and Christ's return, and then he will establish his 1,000-year reign on earth, with the resurrected saints who get to live with him for 1,000 years, ruling over everybody. The little season isn't even on these timelines I'm talking about. They don't even know it exists, half of these people. No one's preaching this from the pulpits. No one's even got to that part in Revelation in the book because they don't think it applies to them today. But we've read ahead, and it says there's a time where some people are living under the rule of Satan for a short season, and they're all deceived. We could be those people. There's absolutely no reason why not. And we have plenty of evidence through meltology, which shows melted mountains everywhere, buildings melted like wax all over the earth, buried civilizations completely decimated and underground. Plenty of evidence that a tribulation has happened. Something like tribulation has happened on earth. We are squatting in the decimated remains of a civilization that was on this earth, if anything. We have digressed significantly from what these people were capable of. We are not advancing as modern evolutionary theory or space theory or whatever new theory they've invented since the short season began to keep us locked into a false narrative. We're not there. It seems like we are truly living in a time where we've been completely deceived about everything. And I mean everything. This is why we have a conspiracy. Yeah. This is it. This is like the end stage conspiracy, I would say. This is the end of the rabbit hole, the Warren. You've reached the bottom here with this theory, I would say.
Yeah, dude, let's go.
When you start actually going through old theories or just viewing the world through this particular lens, and that's what I implore you to do, put the glasses on, the little season glasses, and start observing the world through this perspective. You'll start to realize it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Everything clicks into place all of a sudden. Why would they lie? A common question conspiracy theorists get. Well, now we have an answer for why such a big lie. It's kind of, why would they go to so much effort? What's the point of all of this? Well, yeah, if Jesus had ruled for 1,000 years, that seems like a pretty good thing to cover up if you want to maintain your power, And the time is short because it seems like a war's on its way. They're gathering an army to make war with something called the Camp of the Saints. Now, we're told during a millennial reign, the resurrected saints will reign with him. What does that mean exactly? But it's those who were beheaded and stayed true in their faith throughout all the persecution before tribulation. So Rome was burning Christians like candles. They were feeding them to the lions, tearing them apart. You know what I mean? They were flaying them alive, hanging them upside down and disemboweled. They were doing horrible things to them, throwing them into jars of like hot wax and just in like oil and whatever, boiling them alive. They were truly messing with Christians on a big scale, just persecution to the max. And people today think they're being persecuted. It's nothing in comparison to all these records shows that Rome was doing to these people just before Christ returned, before 70 AD. Well, those people who stayed true and didn't capitulate, didn't give up their faith, they get resurrected and they get to be basically gods, halos, perfected giant light bodies, as Adam was in the beginning, made whole again, seeing in the 17th dimension, probably as God would see. They were like on par. Jesus resurrected, and they also resurrected into their glorified bodies too. And it seems like they lived on earth with Christ in some capacity, whether Christ was just ruling from heaven and they were on earth doing his thing, but they were the rulers over the survivors of tribulation. So there were still humans knocking about during this time who barely survived. scattered all over the place. And what did they do? They rebuilt. And there was still some Roman architecture lying around from the old civilization. They didn't get rid of it. Why waste it? So that's still around. But what they did was build a new architecture within the ruins. And that's called Gothic cathedrals, Gothic architecture, a level up. And if you look at cathedrals, they are like sound manifest physical.
Yeah.
They are musical in nature. Everything about them is geometrically perfect. Through and through. The resonant frequencies these things have within the halls, the tuning of the organs, everything about these places are immaculate. Something truly godly. If you've ever been in a cathedral, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And the Greco-Roman style pales in significance compared to it. But they suddenly just randomly appear out of nowhere in the Middle Ages. Just monasteries blow up everywhere in like the 10th century. Around about after a destruction event, if we remove 700 years. And it seems like after that was over, that destruction, the saints picked up, built something beautiful. And imagine 1,000 years where the devil's locked up, humanity's unencumbered, no adversary whispering in their ear turning king against king, no more backbiting, no more petty fights, no more squabbles over money or power or anything silly like that anymore. People are free, they're living longer, they have the saints right there teaching them immaculate things from God himself, they have a direct line to Jesus through them, and they're living this perfected life for 1,000 years. That would have been incredible. But then it does say in Revelation 20, it ends. When that time has ended, Satan is let loose and deceives all the nations for a short season. We could be those people, and I'm seeing plenty of evidence today to say, yeah, that happened. They are those buildings are everywhere. That civilization was built. And these saints have receded somewhere. They're somewhere still on Earth. I don't think they ever left. I don't know. I think we have lands hidden from us on the maps today. We've been lied to about everything. The running theory is that maybe they're in the North Pole. Something's there in the center of where all the compasses point. There's something there. We know there's a black rock of some kind on all the old maps.
Giant black mountain.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, all the maps show something in the middle with 4 islands surrounding it, with streams coming out. There's things, something's there. It's just not on our maps today, so we don't know it's there, And it could be the camp of saints. That could be where the saints are in their beloved city, and we're going to surround them at some point. That's what Revelation tells us. We're going to be deceived. I assume we're probably not going to realize what we're doing because we're all under a deception, but we're going to believe we're under attack probably by this unknown force that suddenly appeared in the north. And
it's curious that Donald Trump is obsessed with Greenland.
Yeah, that is odd, isn't it? Yeah, that cropped up 3 months ago or something. Yeah. When I started hearing that, I was like, "Oh, you joking?" Like this is more kind of stuff like kind of just coming to the forefront. I mean, again, this is just a working theory, so I'm open to be wrong about this particular talking
that
point.
Fits. That piece fits certainly.
I mean, I think the alien agenda is linked to this in some way too. So we're all waiting for the fake alien invasion, aren't we? Project Bluebeam, they're going to release the flying saucers they've been building in underground military bases. They probably have their own monstrous lizard reptilian horde in these bases they're going to release onto the surface to eat people or something, and they're going to fly around with the little alien greys they've made in little labs, flying these saucers everywhere, zapping cities down. And at the same time, I reckon a giant mothership is going to just appear in the sky. Okay, well, New Jerusalem, the beloved city from heaven that descends from heaven, would be something like a giant mothership from our perspective. We would think it's space, aliens, it has to be. What other perspective do we have to interpret such a thing? But if Christ's city suddenly descended from heaven, New Jerusalem, Mount Zion itself, then mankind's been primed through all the programming to attack, because we must be under attack from aliens, right? We must be. Wow. And that's what, and I think they would release, all the evil people, the controllers, would release their UFOs, their monsters, attack us, and blame it on the UFO, the mothership. The mothership sent those spaceships after us and those monsters after us,
It's very interesting, dude.
It's just Jesus. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a woman come on years ago on my premium content, and she was telling me that she felt that the deception of Project Bluebeam isn't a fake alien attack, but the presentation of a fake alien attack, when it's really what you're saying is that it's angels and God coming down, but they want you to think it's a fake alien attack and that the elites are in charge of everything. So the whole perception is these elites all they do is convince you they are unstoppable. Like no matter what you want, they get what they want. And a lot of times they do, but there are times in which the herd or whatever you want to call us says no, and they back off. You're starting to see it with this real ID thing. People are going, I'm not getting this bullshit. This isn't stopping terrorism. It's another form of control. And you're seeing a big push on X. And I don't know how X is still doing what X is doing, why they're allowing X to do it. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to get some he's controlled opposition. I get it. But there's dialogue going on there that I haven't seen ever before on social media. At least not on anything other than 4chan or something like that, right? Where it's like more of a mainstream type platform. But, your things are being discussed there. But the whole thing is like they want us to believe they are doing this. Yeah. And it's not like a thing even more powerful than them, which is, I say this all the time, like take whoever you think is the most powerful person on planet Earth. If you want to say it's Klaus Schwab, even though we all know he's middle management to much more powerful people, whoever they are not bigger than the universe. They're not bigger than the laws of the universe. They're not bigger than the laws of love and all that stuff. But they want you to think that. They want you to think that they are in control of all things at all time. And, if you take a look at your own life and you try to like create an event, like let's say it's XG's birthday, right? We want all these things to happen on XG's birthday. Very rarely does the birthday party ever go the way we want it to. We mostly get the train to get to, its final destination. But in reality, it very rarely goes the way we plan. And that's just a tiny birthday party for a little guy, right? So imagine trying to control the world and all that stuff. It's like so hard to control the world. So you need to run all these psyops constantly, all the time, everywhere, convincing people to make the wrong decisions in their life, to turn away from God, and that these elites are bigger than God. So I think you're onto something, dude.
Yeah, they're not bigger than God. At the end of the day, what this proves is that Jesus won. He kept his promise. He came back. He established his kingdom on earth as like a taster of what's to come next. Because after this war comes the new heaven and earth, the thing he promised at the very end for all of us. It's kind of those who stay faithful and believe in Christ and you'll be saved. That literally means you get into the new heaven and earth. Not that you get to reign as like some earthly priest for 1,000 years when people still push back against you. You got to rule with an iron rod and there's still like petty squabbles and wars because people are just people. You know what I mean? This is like the new heaven and earth where everything is truly perfect again, back to as it was in Eden. The real promise of heaven manifest on earth itself. We don't live there yet. We are not there. A lot of people say to us, like, where's all this stuff then? Where's the no more tears? Why can't we see like saints walking around right now? Or why are animals still killing each other? There's no way we can be in the little season because when Christ comes back, everything's perfect forever. It's like, it doesn't say it's perfect forever. It says there's 1,000-year reign where he rules with an iron rod. Theocracy. He is the king and you get in line or else, It's not like sunshine and lollipops during the millennial reign. In the book of Zechariah, it's talking about people have to make pilgrimages every 7 years to the new Jerusalem. They have to pay homage to the king. And if you don't come, your nation doesn't get rain. It's simple. And you look at the earth, there's desert, scorched earth all over the place. There may have been regions that did not bow down during the millennial reign and lived in rebellion. There may have still been demons around dwelling in those places, hiding out in those places, creating new religions against him. It wasn't all perfect, but we can see pockets of the earth where it's perfection, where people did get in line with Christ and they benefited greatly, But then the new heaven and earth is the perfected place that we're all still waiting for. But a lot of people don't know what we're talking about, think we're saying we're already in that perfected place. That's what's coming next. So there's hope. There's still hope. This isn't like doom and gloom. This is better, in fact. It's like, finally, we're going to make it to the new heaven. We're actually going to get there. It's right around the corner now, rather than having to wait 1,000 years for the saints to have their little reign first, that type of thing, and God bless them. I'm not saying anything against those people because they suffered and they deserve that little time. They deserved that time, to have the rulership over humanity. They suffered greatly for their faith, But we, the rest of us, all we can cling to the hope is that we get to make it to the new heaven and earth by just staying faithful. That's the best we can hope for in this time. And I don't think the commission's changed. I think it's still our job as Christians to spread the good news, to spread the gospel. We now live in a time where you can know Christ. Think of all those people who lived before Christ. What chance did they really have? We're lucky. We're lucky that the Bible is the most printed book in the entire earth. We're lucky we can live in a world where you can see Christ on every single building everywhere. We know he's real. That we can just know him if you want to, if you make that choice. But we also live with the choice of the devil as well. It's a fair shake because he's ruling here too. But he's not like in control. He doesn't really have any power. He's defeated. He's like been let loose for a little bit. He's going to kick and scream before he gets thrown into the lake of fire. And we're living in his flailing time, his final little moment where he's going to try his best to do something, you know.
And the fact that, you know, the belief is, and this is, you know, what Christians have been saying forever, and why some people become atheists. And it's a hard thing to comprehend, but, you know, God put Satan in charge of this realm. You go, who rules the realm? People always say God. You go, well, God put Satan in charge. And that's why, again, you kind of get into how dark it is right now, right? Like all the dark shit going on to the point where people start to question whether this is a prison planet or not.
Well, I think Satan's made it into something like that, you know, and he's not an idiot. He's been around since the beginning of time itself. He knows what makes us tick. He knows how to push up buttons. He knows how to make us be deceived very easily, you know. Give the devil his due at the end of the day. Don't underestimate him at all. But at the same time, he's got no authority or power over you if you live in the kingdom. If you step into the kingdom and the authority of Christ that he took from his death and resurrection, you're walking in Christ's kingdom and declare him as king. What authority does the devil have over you? He has none, you know. And we're discovering a lot of this world is designed around false realities, such as your paper self, your straw man, that is your legal entity, that doesn't actually represent you and the divine law of God itself, which you truly live under. It's all by consent we live in this reality. We consent to their rules and their realities and their laws. And because of our consent, we're now under their jurisdiction. But if you walk in the jurisdiction of Christ, they actually have no authority over you. And legally, you can actually win these battles. And people do win them who realize this, you know, because you're not responsible for your paper self, for the number they've created for you, that all the debt's under, for example, you know, because you are not that. You're a sovereign. You are free of any slavery or bondage. But that's just not something people can really live by easily or accept in this world because they don't know any of this. They think this is the lot we have in life and we just have to live by it. And imagine if everybody did realize the truth that Christ was here. He is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He kept his promise. We haven't been waiting 2,000 years for him to come back. He wasn't a failed prophet. Everything he said would happen did happen. The promises he made to those people in his time that he would come back soon were kept. The atheists would have nothing to stand on. They'd have no leg to stand on anymore. It would just be a completely different world. But Satan's done a pretty damn good job at hiding these truths.
And the more and more every day passes, the more and more things the conspiracy theorists are saying was going to happen has been happening with, you know, I mean, the formation of the Federal Reserve. That is like the heart of the darkness. Usury is absolutely disgusting, right? And you know, the creation of money out of thin air, and then to print so much money that you can basically bribe humanity. You know, and that's what we've seen through USAID, you know, USAID, that they've gone and they've taken all this Babylonian money magic and just bought everybody to the extent that it's completely and utterly changed how we perceive reality. And, you know, I've been saying this forever, that everything you hate in the world is funded by the Federal Reserve. Everything you cannot stand. It's the false reality projected on to God's reality.
It's all debt as well, isn't it? It's all fake. It's all held up by debt at the end of the day. No one has any money, really. Everybody's indebted. Every single nation is like trillions, if not millions of billions of
it's all
pounds or dollars
bullshit.
in debt. You know, it makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. It's faith. We believe in it, so it exists.
And it's just, it's not real. Like, they're like, dude, we're trillions of dollars in debt. Or we could just tell them to fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dumb fuck off. Hey man, you owe us $8 gazillion, or you can go fuck yourself, and we're even now. I mean, it's not even. It's just like this is the game that's getting played, man. This is the game they're getting played.
Every nation that tried to do that usually ends up being taken over and turned into a hellhole war zone. So maybe people are learning the lesson now. Maybe it's just get over it and just get on with the fiat currency, whether we like it or not, type of situation.
Yeah, but at some point it eats itself alive, and at some point it's unsustainable.
I think if we went to zero again, we'd still be in debt. Somehow these fools would fuck it up again, and we'd be in major debt again.
They would just completely follow the same thing and just drill it into the ground, But it's
that sounds like a little season to me, doesn't it? That sounds exactly like what would be going on every
100%,
single time.
100%. But this extends to everywhere. Like, why do they always worship Satan in everything? Like everything. There is a like a shout out, a symbolism, shown support for very dark shit. And you go, why is that happening? Why are these people hell bent on fame and fortune, always worshiping, Samaza or whatever John Lee said the name, Samyaza.
Yeah, he was the one who created the Nephilim. Yeah, he's the one who came down with the Watchers and had sex with human women to create the Nephilim. He was like one of the first rebellious angels who really messed up big time. But there's a whole pantheon of angels who are all nasty, horrible gods that preside over this earth. They call them principalities in the Bible, and people answer to them, work with them, make deals with them, all sorts of things today in our society. And it's really, they all worship Lucifer. They're not even hiding it. Like Albert Pike, the 33rd degree Freemason, wrote explicitly in his book, Morals and Dogma, we worship Lucifer, the light of the world, the light bringer, the one who is in complete opposition to Adonai, the god of the Christians, who's actually the good guy, and Adonai's the bad guy. It's Gnosticism, but they tell you we worship Lucifer, and we're going to make sure the whole world does too. That's their agenda, to make the whole world in line with the Luciferian doctrine. That would line up perfectly with the release of Satan in a little season.
I agree, man.
Everybody worshiping, let's get everybody on board with Satan. It's his time. Let's all follow him and worship. He's the only god around now. You may as well, he can give you stuff. He can give you the whole world.
Lines up, doesn't it, dude? It just lines up perfectly with all this dark energy, all this dark art, these politicians and the way they operate and who they worship. All that just lines up, man, with this idea right here.
They don't hide it either. All the music industry is constantly telling you who they're in line with. It's all satanic stuff. The symbolisms are everywhere. They don't have to hide because it's Satan's time. They don't have to hide. All they can do is externalize themselves slowly, which Elena Blavatsky talked about, the externalization of the hierarchy, and make people on board with them, or at least passive about them. Yeah, we know they're in control, but what am I going to do? I got bills to pay, that kind of stuff. Like, make people know about them in a slow release drip feed type of way, so they're either passive or on board. And that's what we live in. I think we live in that time. I think everybody knows what these people are truly like. I think they've revealed themselves to be heinous, disgusting monsters repeatedly, and everyone's like, I got to go to work. Yeah, but the football game's on, so it's kind of, everyone's over it. Who cares? No one cares. It's apathy and nihilism has kind of taken over this little season. That's the world we live in.
And all of these wars, it's like you have like progressives who are concerned about trans children. You have people who are okay with giving sex surgeries to 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of monster is that? What kind of person? And it's the craziest thing because, like I've said this before, but it's like everybody pushing this trans agenda on children are all probably, if I had to bet my money, all go to therapy, are going to see a psychologist for childhood trauma. And yet they have no problem with just continuing the cycle of just spiritually and psychologically and physically damaging children as they cry to another person about what was done to them.
Oh yeah, hurt people hurt people. That's a classic.
100%.
Everyone knows this, you know? I feel bad for them because they are kind of under a delusion in a way. They have been so deceived in this time. It's kind of, we have to pray for these people because the suicide rates for that community are so high. And suicide, it's no joke. Suicide's no joke. You know, I've dealt with that in my own family. It's devastating. It tears people apart. You know, they have the highest suicide rates for such a small community. It's unbelievable. Like,
yeah, well, we talk about it, dude. It's like, you know, I just saw a commercial for a headache medication, migraines, and like, what are the side effects of suicidal thoughts? Like, you're taking a small problem and you're making a way bigger problem. Now imagine completely changing your biology and what that does to you. And it's like we talk about all the time. High vibrational activity gets you closer to God. Low vibrational activity gets you farther from God. And, you know, there are trans out there. I know them. I know some, you know, that I've met through my journeys in life that can handle it. They seem to be okay with it. But there's a lot that can't. And when you come out and you talk about it, the worst part is the trans community that was convincing you to get change or chop this or shoot this inside you completely abandons you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think a lot of them weren't really trans, but they were kind of peer pressured to believe that's the way they should have gone and made a mistake they regretted after having the surgeries and this type of thing. There may be some people out there who, like I said, are okay. They can handle it. They're actually fully on board with their decision, and they're adults. They made that choice. They really did feel that way, and they're okay with it. I think some people who may have like gender dysphoria, as they call it, or maybe just confused about where they belong in life and were looking for some kind of community, may have ended up going too far in a way where they actually weren't really that. You know, that's not actually what they were in for, but they just wanted to feel like they belonged to something. And they're the ones that usually end up going ahead and, you know, ending themselves, which is a real shame, really. And I saw a meme today. I think it said something like, because they couldn't get them in the womb, they've ended their lineage outside of the womb instead by making them castrate themselves. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, when you think about it from that perspective, there's like a death cult ruling this planet right now.
Yes.
This earth, this world, whatever you want to call this plane of existence we're on, you know. But it seems like they want to kill us and they want to replace us with something else. And you see the rise of AI and robots now and the rest of it. And it's kind of like, I think the elite want to get rid of us and replace us with robots. And they're going to live happily ever after as gods among men with
gods over robots.
You know? Something like that. Yeah. But how do you kill the populace? I mean, you could put stuff in their bodies. You could make them end their own ability to procreate. You can poison them through the food. You could spray stuff, or you could send signals out, or there's many ways you could do it, you know. And it seems like whatever way is possible to get us to be degraded or killed, they're doing it. What kind of time season would you call it? I think that was a time when the devil was in control.
No, I agree. You know? Everything, poisoning of the food, you know, psychological operations. OnlyFans is now, it used to be only traumatized people would go into pornography because they had no ability to function in society. So that was the only way they could make the money. Now you're convincing just regular people to be adult film stars, and the devastating effects of that on their psychology and on their standing in their community. They have no clue. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about one of our favorite sponsors. That's right, Cornbread CBD gummies. They got the full spectrum of flavors. Let me tell you about Cornbread CBD gummies. Have you tried everything under the sun for peace of mind? Well, it sounds like it's time for you to try Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. What do you think, Johnny?
Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether you're dealing with stress, discomfort, or you just need a little relaxation. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, that's the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. And all their products are third-party, lab-tested, and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity.
All right, so right now, Tinfoil Hat listeners can save 30% off their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/tinfoil and use the code tinfoil checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/tinfoil and use the code tinfoil. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. I just watched this video, and it's anytime I watch a video, I always think of Johnny telling me he doesn't think it's real. And there are parts of me that thinks that this video isn't real, but it's this guy and this cute girl they're dating. and it's like another like good-looking black guy interviewing drunk chicks about all the weird stuff they've ever done. And for some reason, no one's ever told anybody, you know, don't snitch on yourself. Don't give away any information you wouldn't want your parents or your employer hearing. Okay. Don't ever talk about that. But this guy asked him, what's the most guys you've been with in one night? And she said 10 dudes. And her boyfriend broke up with her right there. Now it reeks of like not a real thing. But we are seeing those videos more and more where girls have no ability. They have no clue about what they're doing. Like the power of being a pretty girl in society is so strong that it just kind of, it kind of just shields you from these common sense rules on how to protect your spirit, protect yourself and all this stuff. But it gets into, again, very demonic, very demonic.
I think demons are running rampant in this time. I think there's this. I think because when the new heaven and earth comes, they get destroyed with it. The old earth passes away, which is where they're kind of trapped, disembodied. They're trapped on the earth with no ability, no body anymore. And you know, I talked about this with the Nephilim clown thing. That's the demon aspect is a very real problem. It's like a parasite in our existence, in the machine of creation. You know, and that parasite problem doesn't get dealt with until the end, until the new heaven and earth is created, and the old one is kind of burnt away. And then there will be parasite free again, demon free on the earth once more. You know, that's still yet to come. And in this short season, I feel like they're in full swing. They're doing as much as they can to get back into our world through our bodies. And there's many ways to make that happen. And I think, you know, the costume of a clown is one of them, but there's many ways to open yourself up to letting demons into your body and to let them use your body for stuff. And this seems like everyone's demon possessed these days to some extent, or at least oppressed. Everyone's got demons to a higher level, and they're not contending with them. They're just medicating themselves or accepting them or becoming one with them.
Yeah,
and
you're
going
totally
with it.
right.
You know,
You're
I think it's really messed
right.
up. Yeah, but well, moving on. Just because obviously we're talking about the little season. There is a book. I showed this to Eddie Bravo. Johnny Bravo's the cartoon character, isn't he? Johnny
Bravo and Eddie Bravo. Oh, dude, that'd be great if I could take Johnny and Eddie and just combine them.
I know,
could
right?
get
That'd be cool.
Eddie's martial arts skills with Johnny's ability to edit. That'd be the greatest human being ever.
It would be, but I showed Eddie this book when I did the talk with him, and you can get it for $5 on Amazon. Just the return of Jesus and where we are now in the biblical timeline. A British guy wrote this. He's in my Telegram group. He literally sells it for pennies on Amazon. 50 pages, summarizes the whole theory. But it might be worth getting into just what Christ actually said as evidence for this theory. Because as Christians, we're basing it on the word of our leader. What did our leader tell us would happen, you know? And a lot of Christians today want to try and debunk this theory. But what I'm saying is you can't if you want to take him at his word. If you want to take Jesus' word as his word, let's see what he actually told the people stood right in front of him in his time. Because what we tend to do today is think Jesus was talking to us 2,000 years later through those people he told the message to, which was then written down for us to read and interpret to our life today. Or could it be the things he said were meant for the people right in front of him, not us 2,000 years later? So let's think about what he said from that perspective instead. And I've just got a list here. It's just a random document I kind of threw together a while ago, just with some of the hottest quotes, you know, from the basic stuff. So Matthew 16:28. So this is Jesus. Verily I say unto you, there'll be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So some of you stood right here in front of me right now won't be dead before I come back. Seems pretty immediate, that, doesn't it? Like, you'll live long enough to see me come back. Don't worry. You know, some of you standing right here, you'll still be alive when I return. I don't think there's anybody 2,000 years old today. I really don't think there are, you know, and people try and tell me it's like, no, he was talking about the fig tree generation. Or he was talking about his transfiguration, which happened a couple of days later. He says that's not him coming in his kingdom. That's just seeing him slightly go a bit ethereal for a few seconds while he talked to some ghostly characters. That's not the same thing, but that's what they try and tell us, you know. Mark 9:1, it's basically the same thing. Verily I say unto you, there'll be some of them that stand here which shall not taste of death till they have seen the kingdom of God come with power. Luke 9:27, but I tell you a truth, there'll be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God. So repeated many times there in the Synoptic Gospels, all the witnesses said the same thing. He told us he's coming back and we'll live long enough to see him come back. Okay.
The mainstream Christian explanation for that is that you said the transfiguration. That's pretty much what they have, right?
That's what they have. That's what they have to say. Oh, he was talking about the transfiguration, which came just a few days later. You know, that's what they were really talking about. But okay, you could maybe make that interpretation, but within context to all these other verses I'm about to tell you, it's clear what he meant when he said that, because he repeated himself. He said many things which corroborate he's talking about returning with his kingdom, not just a few of you are going to see a little event maybe in the future. So we have here Matthew 10:23. When they persecute you in this city, flee to another. For verily I say unto you, you'll not have gone over all the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. So he's saying, when you get persecuted, just go to another city and keep doing that. It won't take long. You won't have gone through many cities before I come back. So what's that got to do with the transfiguration? Has nothing to do with the transfiguration. So you can blow that out of the water straight away. That's not what he meant when he said those words. We have Paul here saying in Romans 13, knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. So even Paul believed he's coming back in my time very soon. Any minute now, he's coming back. Get ready, churches. Get ready. Man. You know what I mean? Any minute now, he's going to return. You don't have long. He was telling people, don't have children. Just don't get pregnant. Tribulation's about to come upon you. You do not want to have a child during this time. Like, it's pretty bad advice if he was wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No. How long was tribulation?
Well, we don't know, but people think about 7 years. It all happened over like a 7-year period.
Now, would some of the explanation for this be the destruction of Jerusalem? Is that how some people would explain it? I assume, like in the more traditional Christian.
That would have been the beginning of all of it. Yeah, because what happens is you have an antichrist come who stands in the temple and declares himself to be God. And
but I mean, like, would some people, I guess, mainstream Christians view that as like the judgment? You know, that would be the kind of the what he's talking about there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Which judgment specifically?
Well, he's saying, what was it, like, this generation will not pass away until these things take place, and then
there's a lot of these things include the Antichrist, the beast, the mark of the beast, the Antichrist standing in the temple of God, declaring to be God, the putting an end to sacrifices, all this type of thing.
So that's the Romans in the temple then. Okay.
Well, that could only have happened while there was still a temple. The temple got destroyed in 70 AD.
Well, that's what but I'm talking about, the temple, the act of the temple being destroyed by the Romans is I would
that would be the end of the Antichrist and that situation. Yeah, that's when it all would have kicked off, and then it's just Armageddon. Then it's just battle.
I think we're talking past. What I'm saying is, I would imagine some Christians would view that as as what Jesus was talking about in those passages, as kind of this is what the kingdom coming in its glory. Right, exactly.
He did say, I don't dwell in temples made with human hands. And he said to the Pharisees, see this temple right here? Right, not one stone will be left upon another, And he's saying, tear this temple down and I'll build it back up in 3 days. And they laughed at him. It's like, it took us years to build this stone temple. He's like, no. My body will resurrect, for the body is the temple of God. He was saying, no more churches, no more Pharisees, no more religion, no more temples. Your body, everyone's body, is the temple of God from now on. So when the temple gets destroyed, it's the sign of the end of the old system and the beginning of the new system under Christ. So symbolically speaking, it's all there. And that temple being destroyed, he prophesied would happen. And like I said, the Antichrist exists during a time where there is a temple for him to do the abomination of desolation and all the rest of it within the temple and put an end to the sacrifices. So if there's no temple anymore, we can only assume that did all happen. It's all already happened. Now today, they're trying to tell us they're building a new temple. Okay. Yeah. And this is where everyone's going, so that means the Antichrist is about to appear, so he can go in the temple and then start sacrificing again, so we can put an end to the sacrifices again. And when you realize how insane that actually sounds, when you really think about it, there's no biblical precedence for a third temple anywhere in the Bible. Nowhere. It doesn't exist. It's not actually there anywhere. They're just trying to manufacture this idea that tribulation's still coming upon us. And the only way they can get away with that is if they have a temple around for the Antichrist to go in. So let's get this straight. You're building a temple for the Antichrist to go into. Can you understand how nuts that actually sounds when you really think about it? Like, that's insane.
Yeah, well, it's some of the Christian view toward Israel. It fits into that same kind of like, a lot of this is to bring about some horrible. Why do we want to do? You know what I mean? It's
you wouldn't, and obviously the Jews rejected Jesus.
Yes,
they wanted a savior that would bring war and a sword and destroy Rome and make the Jews the rulers of everything. And it's kind of they were waiting for that type of thing, But Christ came meek on a donkey with a message of peace and love and to all nations shall be saved, this type of thing. And they're like, no, we can't have any of that. So even today, what are they waiting for exactly? What are they trying to usher in? All of it's very suspect and dodgy. And, it's all orchestrated in my eyes. I think they're just trying to maintain that illusion that
they do benefit greatly from this timeline, the current conception of the timeline.
Oh, they benefited greatly. They've been given so much land and power, and they get to rule over all the industries. Like they have so much power in this time. And it would make sense if they are of the synagogue of Satan, their father is the devil, and they rejected Christ when he came here on the earth, that they would.
It just lines up, dude. It just lines up, and people get so angry. These conversations are going to happen whether people want to or not.
Exactly.
Gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, it's unavoidable. The truth's coming out, and I think everyone's had it now with that nation. Everyone.
Are you into Khazarians at all? What do you have any thoughts on Khazarians?
I think they're just descendants of the same people who rejected Christ to begin with, and they just moved further north. I don't think it's really much of a difference. I think they still lived in rebellion during the reign as well, more than likely. I think, like I said, not everyone bent the knee, and this is just their time now. But again, the bloodlines have changed a lot since that time. There's been a lot of interbreeding between nations and grouping together of religions and the rest of it, So, but at the same time, like I said, whatever they are, then they have nothing to do with God or Jesus. I can tell you that right now. And there's something to do with Ukraine right now. Something really weird's going on there with the. What did I see?
There's a lot of like ethnic cleansing, particularly of Christians right now, and nobody's saying anything about it. And everybody's worried about like anti-Semitism on campuses, why people are getting murdered everywhere. And it's so obvious what is happening here. Mm-hmm. But I do think it is like the last death rattle of a dying light. Like
I think
they're desperate right now. It just
I think everyone sees it, right? You can feel it now. Everyone's like over it. It's like, oh, you've played victim for like a millennium. Well, a century now. We're over it. It's kind of, we realize now, no, you've been lying to us. Like we're through, basically. I think all things are kind of becoming known now. I think the truth is finally coming out. I think Zionism is falling by the wayside. Christian Zionism is becoming highly questionable. How long have they been a nation for now? They're running out of time if they want to be a prophetical fulfillment of anything. Because
I think that is. And I think that's Netanyahu's whole play. I think like he has bought into he was supposed to bring back the third temple. All this is to bring back, even the discussion of Hitler right now is like, and I'm not a Hitler dick rider, so you don't have to worry about that. But, I have my strong views and like what his role was, again, is to scare people to go back to Israel. That's my honest belief. It lines up completely. You don't have to kind of like, you don't have to, I don't believe that. Like Hitler dies in Argentina. How's that fit into your narrative? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. And it just fits into this whole trying to get prophecy going, which I think then you dig even deeper. It's about controlling trade routes in that area. Mm-hmm. You make it into a religious war and everybody fights. You arm one side way more than the other side, and that one side just annihilates everybody on the other side and just takes more territory to control all the trade routes. All this fits into me, Little Season stuff. Just the amount of death and destruction that the United States military is doing, and we just keep getting sold as bullshit. And then like people with short-term memory just never forget like what they did in Vietnam, what they did in Iraq 1, Iraq 2, Afghanistan, and they just keep, it's almost like a spell is done where nobody remembers it. All of these bots on these things, that seems like to me mystical black magic to manipulate energy. That seems to fit into it the same.
I think really, I mean, Jew, Gentile, Greek, Christian, Muslim, whatever you are, whatever faction you come under, I think we're all being turned against each other. And I think we're all, to some level, as communities, have been deceived to believe that we are the righteous ones who deserve power over the other in some way. It's all bullshit in a little season when you realize it. It's all just a power play. And I think the end result, what they really want in this time, is a new world order where everyone's of one mind, one currency, one state, one country, one religion, even under the light of Lucifer, which has been what they've been writing about in the secret societies for a very long time. What the Kabbalah is even really all about when you get down to it. You know, it's a rejection of Christ and an acceptance of Lucifer as the light bearer, the one who gives us knowledge that frees us and makes us as gods. And I think they're trying to convince the whole world through a horrible, brutal, religious, socio-economical war that we need to get rid of all these old religions. We need to move past all that stuff, and we need to find something different, something better. And the religion of Lucifer isn't bowing down and worshipping a shiny angel. It's believing you are a god, and that we are in control of our own human evolution, our consciousness, and that we can transcend our own bodies and our own minds and limitations through technology, through taking control of our own evolutionary process. All of that is, ye will be as gods, just take a bite of the apple. That's all Luciferianism, okay? And we don't have to believe at any moment that we're actually paying homage to a higher entity to be a Luciferian. That's not how it works, you know? In fact, they would rather we didn't know that's what we were doing. They would rather believe that, oh, I'm a god. We are all gods. We are all collectively God's consciousness, all just pretending to be people. And we've just forgotten that we're all God. We're just air in a balloon. If you pop the balloon, you go back to air. You know, it's kind of that kind of thought process is the new religion they're going to bring upon us. And you can see it already with the Galactic Federation of Light channelers talking absolute bullshit. You know what I mean? It's pretending to be in contact with the what's that?
Women just went to space, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, that is, again, psyops on psyops on psyops. The big psyop right now, I believe, is this movement to say that Christ didn't exist or Christ wasn't what we thought he was, and this was a giant Jewish psyop or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
Nonsense. It's just made up bollocks. Basically, they're just lying now because people are so ignorant and haven't really read a book to realize that just falls apart very quickly when you actually look into it. It's just nonsense. It's literally just made up stuff. Do you remember like Billy Carson just made stuff up that wasn't in books and just went around confidently saying as though it was fact? It's just charlatans doing more of the same.
Yeah, anybody, what happened to him? Even mainstream liberal historians concede Jesus' existence. Now they disagree about other details, but yeah, I mean they're extreme even in the realm of I mean there's really no, I mean anybody who would say that he didn't exist at all is really an outcast even in mainstream history.
Well, it's kind of the standards. What's the standards for historical evidence that somebody existed? Because there is no historical figure that has more evidence for their existence than Jesus Christ all throughout any standard of what we call history. Like by that standard, if it's not enough, then no other historical figure ever existed as well. Do you know what I mean? If what we have for Christ is not enough, yeah, no one existed.
But it also fits into this kind of war on Christianity.
Oh yeah.
And the people that will come after you for this will question Christ. They're question Christianity, but they never question any of the other religions. Like everything in Judaism is seen as the gospel. There's never a discussion of who manipulated that, who created that, what are all these dark things that are in there? Like when you look at the Talmud, it's the Babylonian oral history of the rabbis. I mean, you hear Babylonian right there. How come no one ever talks about that kind of influence? Why is it that? Why, or why Muslims go around a black cube? There's not a lot of discussion on that. It seems to be all focused on Christ and Christianity. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the biggest indicator that there's that is what is the correct one in my humble. Not that either side is bad or any of them bad. I think at the core, most of them are saying the same thing in just different ways. And there's just been this, again, getting into this little season, these demons coming in, just tweaking little things here over time, tweak a little more, tweak a little more. Now you have this like dark Luciferian, Malachian, influence on these religions.
I think a lot of the world religions we see today may have been a lot more cohesive during the millennial reign and actually on board with Christ in their own culturally stylistic, specific ways of doing it. Not think about this: like Hindus aren't suddenly going to start looking Christian and building cathedrals in the Western European style all of a sudden, because they have their own culture and their own way of doing things. But if you look into like Sikhism, which is an offshoot of Hinduism, it's very much like Christianity. It's very similar. And my friend Brian from Demon Erasers did a great breakdown on this. But they're basically like, their tenets are Christianity through and through. Could it be that they were Christians during the millennial reign, but again, once the little season kicked in, it's like separation starts happening, and twisting of people's histories start happening, confusion comes in. Things like Islam as well. It could have been a sect during the time of Christianity or a follower of the Abrahamic faith of God, and maybe it was. But today it's certainly not that anymore. But then if you look into this, some of them, it seems like Islam has been argued is also created by the Jews in like the first, maybe 3rd century to fight Christians and to actually be an army to go against the rising Christianity, to try and fight back against it. So there's a lot of speculation about where a lot of these religions come from. But the one that's attacked most today, like you said, would be Christianity, except for churchianity. And churchianity, I would say, is a far cry from the true faith and following the way of Christ. It's more of a 501c3 tax haven type of scenario, a weekly Sunday club where you get to have tea and biscuits afterwards and just feel good about yourself. It's you go to listen to some guy tell you the Zionist spiel about why you should support Israel. You know what I mean? It's kind of, that's churchianity, and they're actually the ones people point to for corruption. Well, like
I agree with that, dude. Like that's part of the little season as well. Like the positioning of these organized religions, and then within those positioning of corrupt people for the whole sole purpose of eventually outing them for their corruption, so that you think it's God.
Look at the Catholic Church, the things they've done. I mean, the children. You know what I mean? Just think about the things that they're known for doing.
They just keep going.
Covering it up, you know what I mean, and the rest of it. It's kind of, they have nothing to do with Jesus or God. They're just an established, organized religion. They're the Pharisees of the day who aren't willing to let go of their power, and they use religion as their means to gain that power. They have nothing to do with what Christ said. My Father doesn't dwell in buildings made with human hands. The church, the building has nothing to do with it. We are collectively the body of Christ.
But you would say it's just the church, not the people, right?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people are deceived. I think a lot of good Catholics out there, good Orthodox people who are really in love with Christ and really follow his teachings and tenets. Absolutely. But I think there's this tendency to believe that you need to be a part of an organization for it to be legit, which is weird because that's not actually there in the book anywhere.
No, it's my mom. It's my mom and my grandma. They every time I bring up that's not my church.
It's my grandma.
That's not
my grandma, yeah. It's my grandma too, she's got the rosary and the rest of it, and I've watched her with it, and she's got Mary there in her bedroom and the rest of it, and it's kind of, you don't need that to have a relationship with Christ, but for some reason they kind of believe they do. They think that's necessary, but it's extra steps.
Don't you think it takes advantage of a desire for fellowship?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. It's pulling on human tendencies to want to have a community. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that's bad or there's nothing wrong with fellowship in and of itself, but you have to be worried that organizations can become corrupt when they have total power. It's just the way it goes. And never feel like you've lost your relationship with Christ just because the church has communicated you. Do you get what I mean? Like, a lot of people would feel like God's abandoned them if they're no longer allowed to go to the church, the building they're used to, or something like that. But when it comes down to brass tacks, as long as you have a relationship with Christ spiritually, you are of the body of Christ. As long as you accept his sacrifice and follow him and believe in him, you are saved. Not as long as you believe in me, but also pay tithes to that church and make sure you're part of this specific denomination and make sure you do this ritual every single Sunday. There's no extra caveats to the free gift of salvation, but the institutions add the ritual on top of it. And there's nothing inherently wrong with the ritual, but don't think that's what's saving you. Don't get confused or sucked into the idea that is necessary for salvation. And again, the little season is full of that. It's all churchianity, not Christianity today. And no wonder people are falling away en masse. like people are losing their faith rapidly today because the church doesn't offer them what they really need, the truth. You know, it's all milk, it's all propaganda, Zionist propaganda now, and it's all doom and gloom, end of the world, tribulations around the corner, everything's going to get horrible really fast type of preaching, you know. And it's kind of, look, yeah, everything's been getting horrible since forever. But I don't think tribulation's about to come upon us. I think we can be free of that once you understand the little season perspective.
I love it.
We can look forward to the new heaven and earth instead, you know. And I don't know what it's going to look like, what's coming. I'm not a date setter or a prophet who's going to tell you God gave me a vision that tribulation's coming on this date, which you get a lot of that charlatan nonsense going on today as well.
When you give me a date, I question when dates always get you every time.
It's dodgy as hell, you know. But all those people now, to me, I cringe watching them because they're in the wrong time frame. They're liars. They're just liars, you know. They're not getting messages from God. I can tell you that right now. Once you put the little season perspective over this, you know what I mean. That isn't. If they're telling you tribulation is about to come, get ready. That was not the Spirit of God that told them that. God
makes you wonder their motivation too, because they can't gain from being wrong. You know, I mean, and they're either truly deluded and that something else is speaking to them and giving them this bad information. Or they are saboteurs, you know. I mean, they're here to discredit the entire.
If any prophet's wrong once, they're not a prophet.
It's over. Yeah,
it's over, and they are wrong so often, and then move the goalpost. Which is why we read the words of Jesus. No, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass until these things are fulfilled. Well, if that didn't come true, he's a false prophet.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say Jesus lied or was wrong? Or that all the apostles were wrong to think that they were coming in his time? Like, Christ could not have been clearer. You know, Jesus told Caiaphas, an old Pharisee, an old man, you know, and he says, you will see me come in the clouds of heaven. Okay. Then he says, who do you say you are? He says, I am, which is saying I am God. And then he rent his clothes and screamed and said, you know, crucify him, that type of thing. You know? But he didn't have long left to live. He said, you're going to see me come back. You're going to live to see me come back with my kingdom. You know, that's pretty damn immediate. And that's prophesying, if anything. You know, did he lie or did he tell the truth? I think he came back exactly when he said he did. And if you read just the opening chapters of Revelation, and this is supposed to be the revelation to John, the words of Jesus Christ, revealing the truth of the end times to John the Revelator in Patmos, okay, in prison. So this is Christ saying these words, behold, I come quickly. Surely I come quickly. Shortly must be done. Seal not the sayings of the prophecy in this book, for the time is at hand. That's how it ends. Okay? And then it opens with things which must shortly come to pass. The time is at hand. Behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also who pierced him. So the people who stuck a spear in his chest will see him come back. And you know what the naysayers try and do? They try and spiritualize or allegorize what I'm saying here. Oh, no. Those who pierced him are just Jewish people. You know what I mean? And they're still around today, so they're also going to see him. It's kind of like, I think we should take it more specific to the context of the time. And if people literally pierced him, he was probably talking about those literal people. Why allegorize it just to fit the 2,000-year narrative, which falls apart instantly when you really think about it? You know what I mean? Like, he promised John will still be alive. Everyone, was at the table at the time. All the apostles were there, and they were like, what's it to you if John lives until I return? Because they were like, you said, what, John's going to be alive? Are you saying we're all going to die? Like, you know what I mean? He's like, why does John get to live? And he was saying, you deal with what you have to do. You have your mission. What's it to you if John stays alive until I come back? So is John 2,000 years old? Is John still walking around somewhere now? Is he? Or was he perhaps still knocking about not that long after Christ ascended after Pentecost and then came back maybe 30 years later? Did John live long enough to see it? Probably. You know, it's more likely a generation passed, which is about 30 to 40 years, biblically speaking. That makes sense, doesn't it? You know, and it's kind of, when he said this generation shall not pass, everyone's like, that's the fig tree generation. That's the generation that will live to see those signs, not necessarily the generation he's speaking to. But in context to everything else I've just said, why would you think that? Because he's pretty clear in every other passage that he's talking to the people in front of him about his time now. And generation is only 30 to 40 years. He was likely talking about his generation, in my time now, this generation here stood in front of me that I am a part of will not pass away till you see these things. That's more likely than some generation 2,000 years from now that has nothing to do with you guys that you don't have to worry about. Can you imagine what? It's like, why are you telling me this, Jesus, if it has nothing to do with me? What must those people have been thinking if we add the 2,000-year narrative to that? Clearly the message they must have thought this is for us now because he's telling us now. You know what I mean? Like, why would we take it in any other way? And it can only happen because we've been deceived about how to interpret the text. And if you look at like something like the Schofield Bible, which had the annotations added in, you know what I mean? And that's what most of the modern Bibles are based on from there. You know, and this is where Zionism comes from and the rapture theology comes from, these Schofield notes. That's the only reason we have these wild interpretations. It's quite new, to be honest. Prior to this, it was historicism or some kind of amillennialism or perhaps some kind of preterist thought to some extent, where all prophecy had been fulfilled already in a spiritual sense, you know. But this futurist dispensationalist doctrine, it's only about 200 years old. It's not that old at all. In fact, it likely came about at the start of a little season, when you really think about it. In terms of timing, about 200 years ago, give or take.
So how long is this reign supposed to be?
Well, the reign is 1,000 years. 1,000 years where the devil's locked up. The little season, it doesn't tell you a time. It doesn't tell you. You have no idea how long a little season is supposed to be. And I think that's supposed to be the case. I think it's as long as it takes. So look, God's merciful. There's plenty of examples where people have repented, turned from their ways, had a revival, and God did not destroy them, even though he said he would if they didn't change. But people have changed, and he did. He has given grace to people and periods of peace to people who have repented. So maybe there could be times in our history where we remember Christ and we turn from our ways and we prove that we're worthy to go on for longer or something. And he doesn't end it all and reveal New Jerusalem and start the Gog-Magog war. I don't know. We don't know how long does it take for Satan to deceive all the nations? As long as it takes for us to be deceived, right? You know, how long's a piece of string at the end of the day? But it does say a short season, a little while. So maybe we don't have that long. Maybe we are gullible and foolish and we are going to get fooled pretty damn quickly. You know, I'm an optimist. I like to hope we have longer. A lot of people think and theorize, well, the season is a quarter, right? There's 4 seasons in a year. And if a millennial reign is if a millennial reign is 1,000 years, then a season must be a quarter of what Christ had.
Wow.
So let's say 250 years. And we're at 249 years now or something. So next year is the end. It would be the end. But I think that's arbitrary just to randomly make that math up because we don't actually know how long a little season is. It doesn't tell us. And so let's say the Earth's been around for 6,000 years. What's a quarter of 6,000? Like 1,700 and something. And my math is terrible. It's like
750.
It's perspective, isn't it? Like, where do you want to take a season from a quarter of a number from? Why are you quartering 1,000 years to get 250 is my argument. Why that number? Why be arbitrary about what numbers you choose? I think a little season is as long as it takes for the devil to make that Gog-Magog army. And he says the army will be the number of the sands of the sea. And symbolically, that's been used a lot throughout the Bible. It's just a very, very big number. It's not literally the numbers of the sands of the sea. It's used a lot when it's like you look at it and it's like, I can't make an end of this army. He just goes off and off into the land. That's usually what they mean by that. And so he's going to make a big army to go and surround the camp of saints, which are likely all march north of the broad plain of the earth, as it says. So it says the broad plain. The broadest plain we have is from the tip of Portugal all the way to the tip of Siberia. That's the biggest patch of landmass we have. It's likely, or then you've got obviously on the other side, Canada, you know, the northern Canada regions and Greenland. Something's going to happen. An army's going to be made and we're all going to march north. The only thing I can think that will convince the entire earth to come together as one and march north is if we think we're under attack by aliens. So we'll beat the first wave and we'll get pushed back or something. Maybe good aliens will turn up and they'll say, humans, we want to make you join the Galactic Federation of Peace so we can fight back against the evil Zerg who's come to bring us into his evil galactic empire or something like that. But you're not quite ready yet. You're not evolved enough. We seeded your planet millions of years ago, but you haven't quite caught up to our level. So let us help you advance your evolutionary process and become like gods like us, so we can fight back against the evil invading aliens who have come to your planet. And it's kind of, everyone's going to take the mark or whatever that is, or get the upgrade, and then go fight the evil aliens who have come to get us with the help of the new alien brethren, and then fire comes down from heaven and destroys them all. That would be Revelation 20 being fulfilled. That would be the whole earth being deceived to march up against the camp of saints, and then God brings fire from heaven and kills them all. That's what it says happens. That's the only way I can see all of humanity being convinced to do something like that. We have to believe we're under threat from an outside alien force.
Yep.
And that would galvanize all of humanity to drop their petty differences and all come together as one against a common enemy. Okay, but the only way we would believe that's happening is if we've been indoctrinated into heliocentric, infinite space, aliens, evolutionary theory, and all the rest of the things we're taught today in schools, which are complete nonsense. That's the only way we'd believe any of that.
If that really happened, you really think like Trump and Putin and all of them would just get along on site? Like, oh, there's an alien, then all of a sudden let's put our nukes together. I still think they did.
Look. If aliens came down and started talking to Trump would coming out and says, I've been talking to our new alien brethren. Great guys. I've met them. You need to meet them. You need to, honestly, I think
they're
it makes sense.
Guys ever.
I think the things they've been saying make perfect sense. I think, we have all these wars. Terrible. We've seen what happened, and it's kind of, maybe we all need to just come together. Reagan said it. These aliens are saying it. And it's kind of, you can see it happening. Everyone believes Trump and will do anything he says who are really under him. You know what I mean? In that respect. Why not? I mean, what if this is the long-term agenda that's been at play, then yeah, they're going to put on a bloody good show for us. It's going to be very convincing, but it's all just Masonic theater. It's just the aliens that come to save us were the ones that caused the problem to begin with. You know what I mean? It's a double blind. It's all just a show. But once you know the little season perspective, it blows it out of the water.
Very interesting, dude.
Yeah. So there's the theory in a nutshell. We didn't even talk about the architecture, or like there's so much you could talk about with this. It's endless. And we have
got into some of the architecture, but are you like, is there like now? Because I know, what are you saying, that the architecture is so advanced that it would only be a great explanation for it is that it was done during Jesus' reign? Is that what?
Only truly inspired people with the time and patience and the knowledge and the skill could create such things in the time we're told they were created, and we're told with created. Well, think how long it takes to make the details on some of these cathedrals. And just, in fact, it's not even just cathedrals. The houses built during this time are incredible. Like the flats built during this time are incredible. Everything's like built to last. And like the drain pipes have dragon mouths on them. Just trivial details today we do not do. Do you know what I mean? We don't go to that extra effort to make things beautiful like they used to. It's like, what kind of peoples existed that could do that kind of thing? We're utilitarian with our architecture. It has to function. It's cubes. We build cubes on top of cubes with triangle roofs that function, that make the rain come off. You know what I mean? But they didn't. They built like flourishes and facades with curls, and like, let's add an acanthus plant pillar in there while we're at it, and let's make sure it's ordained and lined with solid gold. It's kind of, who has the time and the patience?
No, I'm with you
to do that. And we're told the people who did were dying of the plague, and we're throwing the crap out of windows, and we're, you know what I mean? Just uneducated, couldn't read. Were plowing in the fields, barely surviving till they're 30 with no teeth. And it's kind of, those people did not build these things. But the people who lived during the Dark Ages, that 1,000-year period of time we know nothing about under Christian oppression.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
Were actually an age of enlightened humans, super advanced, building cathedrals. You know what I mean? They were not what we're told.
Wait up. So do you think they call it, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been said, but you think they call it the Dark Ages on purpose?
Oh, yeah, it's an inversion. Dark for light, light for dark.
Yeah,
they've inverted
for
the truth.
sure.
Yeah. We're living in the Dark Ages since the release of Satan, but they called it the Enlightenment period. It's the age of enlightenment and reason, you know? It's a renaissance, isn't it? A new renaissance of old Roman-style art and theatre and all that type of thing happened. And we've been... science advanced, and we stepped out of the cave and into the age of enlightenment in like the 1600s, when actually that would have been about the end of the millennial reign of Christ. and the end of the true Enlightenment period, where people lived as gods with extended life, the running rivers of water, healing frequencies in cathedrals, free energy everywhere, pulled straight from the ether by the antennas of these buildings everywhere. These buildings were not just there to live in, they were there to function as machines. They harnessed energy, and the whole Tartarian field of research studied this ad nauseum. You know, they made it very clear. This is antiquitech, antique technology. This is a technology that we do not use today. You know, it's we don't even know how it works, but we know it did work. And there's moments where it does kind of work every now and then. That's a bit weird. I got this one video that shows one of these like stone antennas. Just above it, some like weird light buzzing phenomena starts happening, like atmospheric energy is being harnessed above it in some way. It's like these things are like broken now. They don't function right in our world today. Like pieces are missing. You know what I mean? Like generators are or something. They've been like taken apart. But when Christ was around, these things literally harnessed energy straight out of the ether. This is what Tesla knew about. This is what Tesla was trying to recreate and bring back. You know what I mean? Before he was silenced and taken out. It's old knowledge. It's what the people, it's what the pyramids were. It's this ancient knowledge. This is antediluvian knowledge. This is just an understanding about the nature of reality that we have lost. It's gone. Whoever built these buildings, they knew it. They knew it very well. They had like mercury balls in the antennas. They had so many weird things going on that to us, we just don't do it. It just doesn't make sense to us. We burn stuff to make energy. Like we destroy things to make energy. We have to move things. We have to create friction or fission or fusion, or we have to do things that are destructive to get our energy today. What they did was it was clean. The cleanest thing you could imagine.
You're right, dude. It's just more darkness. The paying for electricity is darkness. You know, there's so much free energy out there. It doesn't even make sense. Just crazy, dude. Just crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that,
Paul? Paul, you're one of my favorites. I love when you come on. You have an open door to come on anytime you want. It was a great episode. I mean, just amazing, and we appreciate you coming on. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Sure. So you can find me at Understanding Conspiracy on YouTube. You can find my book, The Nephilim Look Like Clowns, if you're interested in that. That's on Amazon. Just type in and you can't miss it. You can get this book written by my friend, which summarizes the whole theory in 50 pages. It's a 1-hour read, very easy to digest. Get that on Amazon. That's what it looks like there. But yeah, you'll find me on YouTube. Also, wherever you get your podcasts from, you can find me on there too, under the same name.
All right, man. Great episode. Let's break it down. Damn. Explosive episode. Little season. Are we in it? Are we in it? Young Christian warriors, what do you think? Xavier Guerrero, let's hear this. Well-articulated thoughts.
What year are we in? I still don't know what year we're in. We lost 700 years. What year is it? You're worried about little season. I'm worried about what year it is right now.
Okay. The best part about it could be like 1309. It's like when everyone's like, hey, you're late. You're like, no, I'm actually here 700 years early.
Exactly. So does that change how old I am? Does that change how old I am if we're...
Yeah, you're negative 750 years old. Johnny, what are your thoughts as the local Christian?
Well, I was thinking about this idea that we're in a terrible time to be alive. And like you mentioned the pedophilia thing, and I don't believe that. I mean, the pedophilia was commonplace in the whole world, over certain times throughout history that are not now. I mean, think about, and in like the early days of humanity, if you believe those existed, where people were, mostly hunter-gatherers, that's a miserable time to be alive. That was just might is right. I don't, that's the part that troubles me about this idea. Now I don't know where those, though I have my thoughts about that, even whether that's even on the Christian timeline, really, that kind of history, like if that's almost like prehistory is not even counted. Are
you kind of saying we've always been in the little season? Like it's still, even back then, we were still in the little season? No, what I'm suggesting is maybe we aren't there yet, but
okay, I get what you mean.
I just wonder if, like, it's not what I was talking about, but I wonder if like pre-man humans were, like what would you say, like primitive humans were even part of the biblical history. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if we should even count those times. But yeah, I had some other thing. And the other thing is like, okay, so what do we do with that information? I wrote that down. Like, what if it is the little season? What do we do with that? You know, Sam, what do you think?
Have hope. That's about to get better. I'm doing all right. Getting good grades. My future's so bright.
But does that not leave you just kind of waiting for the thing to get like?
Everything is that, Johnny. Of course. I mean, like
you can
it coincides with the Kali Yuga saying we've just left the lowest, most dense time, and we're gonna start elevating up to a 5D. That's Hindus.
Doesn't that though suggest like, hey, these are powers bigger than you can imagine. There's nothing you can do about the world around you. So just sit on your hands, sit a few plays out, wait until God, Jesus.
No, dude. It says go to jujitsu class. You learn to kill with your hands.
Oh, that's what you say. Yeah.
Learn to shoot a gun, make love, stop pulling out.
Learn the difference between a camera and a gun. That's a nice start, Sam.
Yeah. Okay, Johnny. Fun. Johnny, I'm just running and gunning, talking mad shit, okay? I don't have time for details. I'm just running.
You don't know what we're talking about, Sam. There was this funny post on Twitter the other day of a guy saying, "Who needs this kind of gun?" And it was a picture of a bunch of camera equipment laid out in the arrangement of an AR. And Sam quote tweeted the guy like, "You butt fucking corporate piece of shit."
Yeah, Johnny. Just let them know, even if they're taking my camera guns. I'm in on. I'll fight you. Okay.
But no, yeah, dude. I mean, gosh, that's
Johnny. I'm in. I don't care. You're trying to talk me out of it. I'm into this. Is the little season now? We're gonna have a guy come on tell us it's not the little season. We'll see.
Who knows?
No, I mean, a lot of it does make sense though, especially the stuff with Israel. Like that to me adds up big time because who's benefited more from people thinking that that we're not in the little season, it hasn't happened than Israel. So yeah, I could go either way,
dude.
So I see this thing called interesting engineering, and it says US UK tap rocket lab for hypersonic tech that hits 1,677.7 Johnny miles an hour faster than an asteroid.
Johnny,
that's
don't
two
lie.
of our last two episodes.
Johnny, don't lie. You know this weekend you saw a couple 7.7s.
I didn't actually. No, I didn't.
Johnny, you saw all of them, and you were blinded by the light. Boom, boom. Wrapped up like a douche, the roamer in the night. Guys, if you go to samtripoli.com, samtripoli.com, pull that up. Xavier, you can't. I can. Thank you, Xavier. I'll do your job yet again.
Hear, Sam. I gotta hear.
There it is. Woo!
Guys, this weekend, I am going to be with the legend himself, Johnny's favorite, Gavin McGinnis, and Josh Denny. Places unknown. Time unknown. Places unknown. Who knows? But I will be there. Once you find out, you will know.
Got his name spelled wrong there, by the way.
Okay, suck it. All right. Then you go to then I'm gonna be at Burbank, guys. The revival is back. Okay, 1 hour of power, me talking mad shit to some unsuspecting fools.
They're
Small room, grab your tickets while you can. Bellflower, stand-up comedy. Hello, my friends. Hello. Go grab your tickets. I'm going to be putting up the Connecticut one after we speak here, after we do a show. That'll be up there, Cleveland and Connecticut and San Diego. More dates to come. So much come all over the place. Guys, you go to samtripoli.com. I want to apologize, everybody. I'm going to tell you this. I have never been more slammed in my life than I have been the last week and a half. It's been so insanely nuts. And I haven't been able to do the premium content. I put out a really good one with the boys from whatever this is, episode 10 that's up. I'm going to do one tonight. We're going to do a little deep conspiracy rewinds. But I'm putting up 3 episodes a week up on there pretty regularly. So go check that out, samtripoli.com. Get in and on it now. The Cash Daddies. Listen, guys. Oh, by the way, Johnny, do you hear that there's a woman out there that jacked our idea where we watch you make love and she gives you advice?
No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, go to my Twitter. I'll show you right now.
I bet she's not charging $1,000. I bet you she's not charging $1,000. That's why.
Well, you know what? Then
well, gotta lower the price. You guys gotta lower the price. I think you guys
do we really want to spend all day watching people bone? I don't. I got a life.
They can't.
Johnny, what life do you have?
Yeah, they can't.
What life do you have, Johnny? I'm just going to show you this right now, Johnny. Look at this. I critique men after sex to train them for their next lover. This age group is the best in bed. Okay. All right.
Oh, here it is right here. Okay.
I just showed it on the screen. It's on the screen.
No, I have to pull it up, Sam. So you have to tell me when you want to do that.
I see it right there.
He's doing it.
Oh, who's doing it? Johnny?
Johnny, yeah, won't let me do it.
Okay, yeah, there it is, Johnny. Even though we've been talking about this forever.
Lower the price. Make it $500, guys.
Dude, we give out scholarships all the time. What are you talking about, dude? We're giving out scholarships. Johnny, you can take it down now. Stop staring at that chick.
I was trying to get the link to open, but it's saying I got my ad blocker up. So
go back to samtripoli.com.
I still got that number of that one guy that wanted to be a cuck in Seattle or wherever.
We don't call our friends that, okay?
I'd call him.
Understand that
right now.
We don't call them that. You fucking retard. Be nice, okay? Be nice, dude. Be nice.
He was a homie. He bought merch, but he's a cuck. That's okay.
Okay, you go to look at this, dude. You go Cash Daddies. We're banking fatties, dude. Woo-hoo. People joining left and right. It's a revolution. $20 make you holler. Dude, you're like, oh, that's so much money. Not when you see what my good friend Howie Dewey does. He drops 3 videos a day. He's crushing it, okay? And then again, we're giving out scholarships, but $1,000 a month will watch you make love and watch you just go to Pound Town. Everybody's going to Pound Town.
You really don't have it today, huh? You can't. You're not even hitting the notes anymore, dude.
I am hitting the notes. What are you talking about, Johnny?
Flat, you're flat.
Don't put down.
You're flat, Johnny.
Yeah, dude.
I can just
Johnny, you're flat.
Your voice.
You're flat.
You gotta come.
You're flat. Okay. You're flat. Okay. Stop.
You're not drinking enough.
Guys,
say it a few more times.
Go to chaostwins.com. We're about to drop a brand new episode. It's getting done.
Tell me, Sam, when you're doing that, because it doesn't. Unless I hit the button, it won't come up. Okay.
Okay, Johnny. Just go to chaostwins.com. Let's go to chaostwins.com. Check it out. New episode's about to drop. All right. Johnny, if we go back to my website, okay, we're not going to spend that too much time on this because this whole thing in StreamYard is cluster effed, all right, because Johnny had to, I got to set up my own StreamYard. Just gold and silver, Rife technology, AquaCure, hydrogen brown gas.
Nothing to do because Zoom was down all day.
Mineral King, chemical-free body, Harley Ray, we love them. EMF rocks to fight dirty energy. We're going to get Joel Staley, Brain Supreme, Prometheus. Woo-hoo. If you need websites, anything else, guys?
Hit that like button, subscribe, please.
All right, guys. Johnny, anything from you?
Yeah, check out Broken Sam. We had a good one at Broken Sam on Twitter too.
All right, bye, guys. Thank you, and please, guys, please enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
This is the thing that we would have led with had the Douglas Murray disaster not happened. Sam Harris should thank Douglas Murray because Sam Harris was having the worst week ever. He went on his own podcast and kind of curb stomped himself. Just the dumbest.
It's so dumb.
Oh, it's so dumb.
Right, and this is something I've complained about with Lex Friedman. Right, I mean, Lex is another very nice guy. I don't think he's ill-intentioned at all, but I mean, he's going to sit down with Putin, really, and conduct an interview. That's,
by the way, this guy talks so slow. I can put him at 1.5 speed, and it still sounds
he got
like
absolutely curb stomped by Dave Smith. I mean, absolutely curb stomped. Yes. And it's this notion that nobody would know about you if you weren't on Joe Rogan, and then Dave Smith curb stops him like, I should do it the old-fashioned way, my mother should have created the Golden Girls, right?
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
the best curb stomping ever.
The best.
Sam Harris is a garbage man. He's a garbage man. He has been completely shown as a fraud. He said he didn't care if they found dead babies in Hunter Biden's basement. Okay. He said he wished that more people had died from COVID so he could still have credibility. Basically, he said along the lines of that, allegedly. And then the last thing he basically said was that the West is morally superior because of intentions, even though we're killing everybody. They're not killing us. Even if you believe that it was Islam that did 9/11, 3,000 people isn't even close to what Netanyahu, George Bush, Dick Cheney has gone. It's an embarrassing. And his brand is dead. And it's like, Rogan said this, but I've been saying this forever, guys. Authenticity is the fucking currency of the future. And when you fake the funk on a nasty dunk, you're going to get curb stomped.
So we're going to play this. This is the Sam Harris thing that we were just talking about here. Sam is just, he's another one of these guys who, and by the way he talks, seems to have some kind of intellectual heft. But when you really think about what he's saying, it's clear that he's an idiot. And we'll play this. It's 4 minutes.
Be useful for the world. That seems extraordinarily unlikely to go well. I would love Lex to prove me wrong there, but I saw how it goes when he talks to people like Tucker Carlson or Kanye West or any other controversial figure. So some of those conversations have been just disastrous, founts of misinformation. So it is with the All In podcast guys, right? I don't know. I only know Jason. I've met David Sachs once, but I can't say I know him. But I was a big fan of their podcast in the beginning. When they were talking about just business stuff and entrepreneurship, and that was fun and useful, and I think they were giving a lot of valid information there to people. But once they got political, once they got deep into once David Sachs began spouting Kremlin talking points, quite literally Kremlin talking points, though he would roll his eyes at that description, and they were completely unencumbered by any valid journalistic or academic correction of this Dunning-Kruger effect that took hold over there. It's been a disaster, right? And they had Trump on, and they had Tucker on, and these interviews were totally irresponsible.
Also, does he have some kind of physical deformity to his face where he's just permanently in this this kind of raised eyebrow position here? This isn't that bizarre? Look at it; it never moves. Watch the rest of this. That eyebrow just remains up. I wonder if just from being a bitch your entire life, you keep your eyebrow up like that.
Right, and I think quite politically consequential. Right. When you look at all the legions of tech bros in Rogan's audience and in the All In podcast audience, and this vibe shift that took hold in tech, those two podcasts in particular, I guess I could add Lex to that. I think we're largely responsible, right? And the normalization of supporting this personality cult in Trump. Elon also played his role. It's been disastrous, and I'm not sure. Again, apart from an economic catastrophe, I'm not sure what is going to break the spell. But the errors that these podcast hosts have been making are absolutely obvious, right? To any real journalist or any real academic touching any one of these subjects, the errors they're making are crystal clear and totally avoidable. And so, to do this job effectively, as a member of the independent media, you still have to internalize the norms that made real journalism in the past, right? And if you don't want to be a journalist, and you don't want to be an academic, and you don't want to be an intellectual, and you just want to be an entertainer, well, then don't interview Vladimir Putin, right? It's just insane to be subjecting our political process to that level of pollution in the information space. It's like to again, Joe's got effectively Holocaust deniers on his podcast at a moment where anti-Semitism has become more consequential than.
By the way, there's a big gap between Holocaust denial and the people he's had on the podcast. He's become one of these people where you can't even broach the issue. You can't even have a real discussion about any of these things without them just slapping these labels on you like Holocaust denier, anti-Semite, etc. Again, and his eyebrow has not moved the whole time, that right eyebrow. Watch this. It's fascinating.
Globally speaking, than it has been since the Holocaust, right? That's his contribution to this moment.
I mean, look at that, dude. I didn't even know he was on someone else's podcast. The other guy didn't get a word in for 4 solid minutes.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/SamTripoli.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.